Let me tell you something that most people are too afraid to say out loud. A man doesn't commit because you're beautiful or because you cook well or because you're always available. No, a man commits because of how he feels when he's around you. Period. It's not about being the prettiest woman in the room. It's about being the woman who makes him feel seen, respected, and challenged in all the right ways. A woman who knows her worth radiates a kind of power that doesn't need to be spoken. It's in how she walks, how she talks, how she holds eye contact, and how she responds to situations that would normally rattle someone who doesn't understand their value. She's not trying to prove herself to anyone, and that alone makes her magnetic. Men sense it instantly. She's not in the business of begging for attention, chasing text messages, or twisting herself into knots, trying to earn love. She already knows she's enough, and she carries that knowing with her in everything she does. When a woman doesn't chase validation, she stops performing. She stops overgiving, over-explaining, and overthinking her every move in fear of losing someone. Instead, she becomes more present, more grounded, and more intentional. She doesn't wait by the phone. She doesn't check his social media every 5 minutes. She's living her life focused on her goals, nurturing her passions, and creating joy in her own world. And that's the key. Her energy isn't desperate. It's full. It's whole. And that is what men notice. Men are biologically wired to pursue, to chase, to win. But when a woman is constantly available, constantly seeking approval, constantly adjusting herself to please him, it changes the dynamic. It removes the mystery, the challenge, the depth. A woman who knows her worth doesn't play games. But she doesn't hand over her time, her heart, or her energy without discernment either. She knows what she brings to the table. She doesn't need to announce it. She embodies it. That energy shifts everything in the relationship. She doesn't overreact when someone pulls away. She doesn't panic when things get uncertain. She's not ruled by fear of abandonment because she's not trying to earn her place in someone's life. She's already claimed her own. And that's rare. That's what makes her unforgettable. A man may meet dozens of women in his life, but the one who held her ground, respected herself, and didn't compromise her values for his comfort, she's the one who stays on his mind. When you're not chasing validation, your actions change. You stop trying to be what he wants, and you start showing up as who you really are. That means you say no without guilt. That means you walk away from behavior that doesn't align with your standards. That means you don't let loneliness talk you into settling for less than you deserve. And all of that makes you a woman who stands out, because while others are molding themselves to fit into someone's life, you're building a life someone wants to be a part of. It's not about arrogance. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about confidence rooted in self-awareness. It's about understanding that love isn't something you chase. It's something you allow. And when a man feels that calm, steady, grounded energy, pulls him in, not because you're trying to trap him, but because you're showing him a new experience. An experience of peace, of emotional safety, of genuine connection without the performance. Men commit when they feel emotionally safe, respected, and challenged. But they also commit when they see a woman who doesn't need them to fill a void, a woman who isn't asking him to complete her, but to walk beside her. That's a partnership. That's what creates longevity. And it all starts with her knowing her worth. She's not afraid of being single. She doesn't see her value through the lens of whether someone wants her. She knows her presence is a gift, her love is a privilege, and her time is sacred. So she doesn't give it to just anyone. She observes, she listens, she takes her time, and when she chooses someone, it's not out of fear, it's out of alignment. That's why men respect her. It's why they commit to her. There's something deeply attractive about a woman who doesn't flinch when things don't go her way, who keeps her head high when others would beg or cry or chase. That quiet confidence, that's what makes a man stop and think, because she's not afraid to walk away if something doesn't serve her. And men know they can't play games with a woman like that. She's not interested in temporary attention. She's not looking for surface level attraction. She's not impressed by status, money, or empty promises. She values consistency, emotional intelligence, and mutual respect. And because she's not searching for someone to save her or fix her or complete her, she approaches relationships with strength, not neediness. That changes the entire dynamic. Men may not always understand it at first, but they feel it. They feel the shift in energy. They feel the difference between a woman who's trying to be chosen and a woman who's already chosen herself. And that choice, that daily decision to honor her worth, that's what makes her irresistible. Because she's not asking, am I good enough for him? She's asking, is he good enough for me? And that one mindset shift changes everything. It flips the power dynamic. It attracts a higher caliber of man. It weeds out the ones who want control and keeps the ones who want connection. It's not about playing a role. It's about being real. And being real is magnetic. Being grounded is rare. Being unavailable for anything less than respect and effort is powerful. Men feel that, and the ones who are ready for something real, they commit to that. When a woman communicates with confidence and clarity, it sends a signal that she knows what she wants and what she will not tolerate. Men are drawn to women who speak with purpose, not because they are loud or commanding, but because they are honest, intentional, and rooted in self-respect. She doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard because the way she carries herself already commands attention. Her words are chosen carefully. She doesn't waste time with passive-aggressive comments or manipulative language. She says what she means and means what she says. And that creates an atmosphere of trust and certainty that men crave more than they often realize. In a world where games, ghosting, and vague intentions are the norm, a woman who is direct in her communication becomes a breath of fresh air. She doesn't tiptoe around her needs, and she's not afraid to have uncomfortable conversations. If something doesn't feel right, she addresses it with calm honesty. If she's interested, she expresses it without playing hard to get. If she's hurt, she speaks up instead of shutting down. This kind of emotional maturity creates emotional safety. And for a man who's looking for more than surface level attraction, that safety becomes magnetic. Confidence and communication doesn't mean being rude or overly blunt. It means being rooted in your truth. A woman like this can say no without guilt. She can ask for space without making excuses. She can express her boundaries without fearing rejection. And when she does that, she teaches others how to treat her. She's not molding herself to be more palatable. She's not shrinking to avoid conflict. She's standing tall in her values, and that kind of strength is deeply attractive. A woman who communicates confidently also listens intentionally. She doesn't just wait for her turn to speak. She seeks to understand. Her presence in a conversation is felt because she's fully engaged. She's not scrolling her phone while someone is talking. She's right there, paying attention, asking questions, showing that she values connection on a deeper level. And that quality makes a man feel seen in ways that go beyond words. It makes him want to open up. It makes him want to go deeper with her. Men don't always articulate it, but they long for someone who makes them feel emotionally safe. And that safety often begins with how a woman communicates. If she reacts with hostility or defensiveness every time there's a disagreement, it creates tension. But if she responds with clarity, with patience, and with a willingness to resolve, it builds trust. That trust becomes the foundation for a relationship where vulnerability can exist. And once a man feels like he can be himself, truly himself, without being judged or criticized, that's when commitment begins to grow. She knows how to express her appreciation too. She doesn't withhold praise or affection out of pride. She communicates love freely, not because she's trying to earn something in return, but because it's part of who she is. Her compliments are genuine. Her encouragement is consistent. She builds rather than belittles, and that creates an environment where a man feels valued, respected, and understood. This woman also knows how to speak her boundaries without making it a threat. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't use silence as punishment. Instead, she uses her voice calmly, directly, lovingly. If something isn't working for her, she says so, not to blame, but to bring awareness, not to push someone away, but to invite growth. But she stays. She speaks, she shares. That balance of strength and softness is what makes her unforgettable. She isn't afraid to ask for what she wants. She's not waiting around hoping someone will read her mind, whether it's affection, attention, clarity, or commitment. She asks, not with desperation, but with certainty. And men respond to that. It gives them a clear roadmap of how to meet her needs. And the right man, he wants that. He wants to show up for someone who makes it clear how to love her. Her tone matters too. She knows how to express herself without attacking. She chooses kindness without losing strength. She can express frustration without tearing someone down. That emotional intelligence allows her to handle conflict with grace. And men feel that. They respect it. They remember it. Because anyone can yell. Anyone can blame. But it takes true confidence to stay grounded when emotions are high. Even in moments of silence, her communication speaks volumes. The way she walks into a room, the way she makes eye contact, the way she holds her posture, it all reflects her inner world. She doesn't need to prove anything. She's not performing. She's simply being. And that authenticity makes her presence magnetic. When she speaks, people listen. Not because she demands attention, but because her words carry weight. In relationships, miscommunication is one of the top reasons things fall apart. So when a woman brings clarity, kindness, and courage into her conversations, she stands out. She becomes the exception. She becomes the woman a man not only desires, but respects, admires, and ultimately chooses to commit to, because he knows that with her, communication won't be a battlefield. It will be a bridge. And that makes all the difference. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need constant validation from a man or anyone else. She walks into every room with an unshakable sense of who she is and what she brings to the table. That kind of energy is impossible to ignore. It's not arrogance, and it's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being fully aligned with her value, her purpose, and her power. She doesn't compromise her standards just to be chosen. Instead, she chooses herself first. And that self-respect becomes the foundation of every relationship she builds. When a woman operates from a place of self-worth, she no longer begs for love, attention, or approval. She no longer chases after emotionally unavailable men or tries to prove she's worthy of someone else's time. She knows she's enough, just as she is, and that internal knowing allows her to move through life with confidence, peace, and authenticity. Men sense this. They feel the difference between a woman who's waiting to be told she's valuable and a woman who already knows it deep in her bones. That's the kind of woman who captures attention without even trying. Self-worth also changes the way a woman sets boundaries. She doesn't say yes when she means no. She doesn't let red flags slide just because she's afraid of being alone. She's not interested in temporary comfort at the cost of long-term peace. Instead, she honors her intuition. If something feels off, she listens. If someone disrespects her, she walks away, not to punish, but to protect her energy. And that sense of inner security makes her radiant. She becomes magnetic, not because she's trying to be, but because she refuses to settle. A woman who knows her worth doesn't tolerate breadcrumbs. She's not interested in almost relationships or situationships that leave her feeling confused and depleted. She's looking for consistency, honesty, and growth. She's done with drama, done with chasing, done with waiting for someone to realize her value. She doesn't need to be convinced that she deserves more. She's already living like she does. And when a man encounters that kind of energy, it challenges him to rise, to be better, to match her. Because deep down, every good man wants to be with a woman who knows she's a queen and won't accept anything less than a king. This kind of woman doesn't compete with others. She supports, celebrates, and uplifts because she's secure in who she is. She doesn't feel threatened by someone else's beauty, success, or presence. She knows there's room for everyone to shine. She's not playing comparison games because her worth isn't dependent on being the best in the room. It's about being true to herself in every room. That kind of grace and groundedness draws people in. It builds trust. It creates a sense of ease. Because being around her doesn't feel like a performance. It feels like home. Her confidence shows up in how she carries herself. She walks with her head high. She dresses for herself. She speaks with intention. She doesn't apologize for taking up space. She doesn't minimize her accomplishments or dim her light just to make others comfortable. She leads with kindness, but never at the cost of self-abandonment. She's rooted. And in a world full of distractions and noise, that kind of presence is powerful. It's unforgettable. It makes a man stop in his tracks and think, she's different. When challenges arise, she doesn't fall apart. She recalibrates. She knows that setbacks don't define her worth. Rejection doesn't shake her core. She's not looking for a relationship to complete her. She's looking for a partnership that aligns with her values and vision. She knows that real love doesn't require her to sacrifice her identity. It amplifies who she already is. So she holds out for the kind of love that feels like expansion, not suffocation. And in doing so, she naturally filters out what isn't aligned. This woman doesn't rely on external things to feel valuable. Her self-worth isn't based on her relationship status, her looks, or her social media following. It comes from within. It's been built through experience, through growth, through facing hard truths and rising anyway. She's done the inner work. She's healed. She's taken time to understand herself, her needs, her patterns, her dreams. And that self-awareness gives her power. She doesn't act out of desperation. She chooses from a place of wisdom, and that makes her magnetic in ways that beauty alone never could. She's not perfect, and she doesn't pretend to be. She owns her flaws. She's honest about her journey. She's vulnerable when it matters, but never at the expense of her dignity. She's open to love, but never dependent on it to feel whole. That balance between strength and softness, independence and intimacy, it's what sets her apart. It's what makes a man look at her and say, I can build something real with her. Because she's not just looking for love. She's looking for purpose, alignment, and partnership. And she won't settle until she finds it. When a woman supports his purpose, it speaks to something deeper than romance. It taps into the core of who a man is. Every man, whether he voices it or not, is wired to feel like his life has meaning, like he's building something, chasing something, becoming someone. When he finds a woman who doesn't just accept his dreams, but believes in them, encourages them, and reminds him of why he started, that woman becomes unforgettable. She becomes a partner, a teammate, not just someone he dates, but someone he envisions standing beside him while he conquers the world. Support isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the little things, the way she listens when he vents about his frustrations, how she asks questions that challenge him to think bigger, how she celebrates the small wins that others might overlook. It's in her belief when his confidence wavers. In her presence when everything feels like it's falling apart. A woman who supports his purpose doesn't try to take control of it. She doesn't micromanage it. She doesn't make it about her. Instead, she allows him to lead in his own vision while she reinforces the belief that he's capable of doing it. This kind of support doesn't come from insecurity or a need to be needed. It comes from a deep confidence within herself. She knows who she is, so she doesn't feel threatened by his ambition. She doesn't get jealous of the time he spends grinding, building, planning. She understands that a man on a mission will sometimes be tired, distracted, or consumed by what he's creating. Instead of resenting it, she respects it. And that respect is something he doesn't forget. It makes him want to rise higher, not just for himself, but for the woman who saw greatness in him before he fully believed in it. A woman who supports a man's purpose adds fuel to his fire. She challenges him when he's playing small. She holds him accountable when he's slacking. She doesn't coddle his excuses, but she also doesn't shame him when he struggles. She walks that powerful line between being soft and strong. She knows when to offer encouragement and when to call him out. And because he trusts her intentions, her words carry weight. Her presence becomes a source of strength, not pressure. That kind of balance is rare and it's magnetic. Supporting his purpose doesn't mean sacrificing her own. She's got her own path, her own goals, her own vision. But she understands that two powerful people can walk together without one dimming the other's light. She makes space for his journey, just like she expects him to make space for hers. And together, they create something bigger than either of them could have done alone. It's not about dependency. It's about interdependence. Two whole people choosing to grow together, to build something that's rooted in mutual respect and shared ambition. She celebrates him not because he's perfect, but because she sees the effort he puts in. She notices the long nights, the quiet sacrifices, the pressure he feels but rarely talks about. She doesn't need grand gestures to feel loved. His consistency, his drive, his presence speak louder, and in return, she gives him the kind of love that doesn't just soothe his heart, it ignites his soul. She becomes a safe space and a source of inspiration. She helps him breathe when the world gets heavy, and she helps him stay grounded when success starts to take off. What makes this support so powerful is that it's not performative. She's not pretending to care. She's genuinely invested. She asks questions about his work, not because she has to, but because she's curious. She remembers the details. She shows up to the moments that matter. And even when she doesn't fully understand the technicalities of what he's doing, she understands why it matters to him. That understanding goes deeper than words. It becomes a connection that can't be faked. Over time, that kind of support creates loyalty. He starts to see her not just as his girlfriend or wife, but as his backbone, the one who was there when things were uncertain, who stood by him when he had more vision than results. That loyalty is etched into his memory. Even if he doesn't always say it, he feels it. It shifts how he sees her, not as someone who needs him, but as someone who chose to believe in him. And that choice is powerful. He becomes more vulnerable with her. He lets her into the parts of his world that no one else sees, not because she forced her way in, but because she earned her way in through consistency, through empathy, through faith in his process. And that trust becomes the foundation of their bond. It's not built on superficial attraction. It's built on shared values, mutual growth, and the unspoken knowing that they're better together. She becomes the kind of woman he not only loves, but respects on the deepest level, because she didn't just love who he was, she loved who he was becoming.